You like stories? I like stories. So, I don't think so that I'm giving you any option, but, you know, it feels nice to let people know that they have an option. Today's topic is about life, something to do with life. And that is my cue. That is where I become very excited. Because for the next hour, I can speak whatever I feel I want to. And at the end of it, even I wouldn't know what I've spoken about. Because that is how life is. Life is very exciting, very interesting. At the same time, it's very mystical. True? So how was your life in 2022? Typical answer is, it was good. Few things were all right, others may not be. I learned a few things. I managed this way and that way.
Oops, sorry, bro.
Oh, all right.
That's part of the life, I think. I don't know, I'm sorry.
You are the light. Okay. So once upon a time, in a very wonderful land, lived a king. The king's name is Padma. So where I come from, a king is always also addressed as Raj or Raja. Right? So King Padma would also be known in my part of the world as Padma Raj. All right? And sometimes we say King Padma Raj, and that it's like saying King Padma King. Padma Raj. He had a beautiful wife, a good administrator in managing the affairs of the kingdom. Very, very beautiful, cultured, astute lady of the name Leela. So Padma and Leela. You know that song? Padma kahe Leela or Leela kahe Padma. No? I just made it up. Okay. So Leela and Padma were happy as a couple. And they're okay with just the two of them being together. So they did not have any children. That was all right. They had the whole kingdom to look after. They were very much attached to each other, as is good for any couple to be. They should have very strong affection and respect for each other. So that was how these two were. A few years after their marriage, Leela, being a very thoughtful lady, she became concerned. So she called for the scholars of her kingdom and she asked them, how is it, what could I do to guarantee eternal life for me and my husband? being together. It's very common for humans to feel like that. We may try to be philosophical, but innertly, or not innertly, sorry, but internally, somewhere there's a deep desire and hope to exist eternally, and preferably have a happy existence. Happy as we define happiness as. Each one has their own definition of happiness. So there is this desire. So it is acceptable that Leela also has this desire, and she wants to have a life wherein she lives with her husband eternally. So Leela and Padma. The scholars know that the queen is well read. So this is not coming just from a figment of her childish imagination. They know that she's actually wanting to see if there is some feasibility to this proposal. So they went through their books, they went through all their learning, like they tried to remember. And they said that presently we do not know of any process which can guarantee you eternal life in this form along with your husband. However, we've heard and based on our teachings, based on our readings, we have learned to explore a process wherein you worship you worship an entity that is divine and of the name Saraswati. So now we have three names, right? Leela, Padma, and Saraswati. Yeah? So she is very sharp. Leela is very sharp. So she asks them that, what is the process by which I can have access to Saraswati? So they explain to her the process. And they also tell her that the entire process, if done diligently, would take a minimum of 6 months. Being of strong determination, she did that. Now this is a story, all right? So in our stories, we can have people do that. So she did her due diligence. She followed all that was required by the process. And after 6 months, she had the divine vision of Saraswati. Okay? The very form of this divine lady soothed all of her emotions. She felt so fulfilled just being in her presence. So Saraswati asked her, so what are we connecting about? What is this FaceTime about? Yeah, so they were having FaceTime talk. Leela said, I have a desire, and I would request you to fulfill my desire. So Saraswati said, all right, maybe I can do that. What is your desire? 2 parts. She says, now she is most probably doing her master's at some university, So you always have, my question has 2 parts, or my proposal has 3 parts. So she had a desire in 2 parts. The first part is, I have been told that me and my husband cannot exist eternally in the form that we are in. But if it so happens that my husband dies and I'm still alive, then I request you that the substance of my husband's existence, that which makes him exist, that always stay with me in this room. Sounds scary? That's what affection is about. Sometimes it is called as love. So that's what love is about. It's like, I want to be very possessive. Have you ever loved anything? And you've understood how possessive you're about it? So try and relate to that. This is where she is. So I would want him to, in whatever form he eternally exists, I would want that form to be with me in this very room forever, till the time I am alive. Saraswati said, yeah, I could do that. It's possible. The second part is, I know that I have frailty, and there are going to be numerous occasions when I would be like going down, not feeling happy, unsure of what I should be doing. So in those moments, I will call out to you, please respond. So can you be on my hotline? I give you a call and you respond. Saraswati said, yes, I can do that. I have a dedicated channel. I'll open it up for you. She's very happy. Now she's done 6 months of some rigorous practice. She has received certain benedictions. So this transforms her. From now onwards, she's very, very thoughtful in all of her dealings. Soon enough, there is a situation of a war. There's somebody invading their kingdom and the king has to respond. There's a severe fight. The king is victorious. So the king is victorious. And everyone in the kingdom, in the palace is happy. They're waiting for the king to come back. So the king does come back. He is welcomed as a victor. However, he has suffered life-threatening injuries. So the physicians are called in and they do their best. And the king dies. So someone is devastated. Leela. Obviously, none of us, we are having fun hearing the story. So Leela is devastated. She is holding on to the body of her husband and she doesn't know what to do. She's lost. So that is when she calls out to Mother Saraswati. To Saraswati, the divine lady. There's a voice. How can I pacify you? Please, let my husband stay with me in this very room. She said, yes, we've already agreed upon that. He's going to be in this very room with you. Oh, is my husband still here? She says, yes, he's still here. So that gives her hope. If he's still here, why am I not able to see him? There is silence. So now she really wants Saraswati to come face to face. She invokes her presence. Saraswati is right there. Why am I not able to see my husband? Saraswati says, well, I can see him. So if you can see him, please let me see him too. Saraswati says, all right, I could do that. But for that, you will have to expand your understanding of how the world exists. She says, what does that mean? So Saraswati says, go and read Newton and Einstein. Try to understand what is relativity. Can you give me a crash course on it? Saraswati says, yes, I can do that. So here I'm ready. She says, no, it will take you at least minimum of 7 days. She says, okay, 7 days, done. She enrolls for that course. In 7 days' time, with her determination, perseverance, and guidance, she develops certain skill sets that allows her to see her husband. The husband is sitting on a throne. She is like, oh, this is my husband, the king. And suddenly, there are courtiers that come into the courtroom where the husband is sitting on the throne. King Vidurat, King Vidurat. And she's like, what? Who's Vidurat? Fourth name. Vidurat. Is this the fifth name?
Yeah.
Who was the fourth one?
No, victorious.
No, he was victorious. A victor. He had won the battle. I use that as an adjective. So forth. All right? Vidurat. So she stops. She was going to go and meet the king. So she stops herself. She looks at Saraswati, help me. Why is he being addressed as Vidurat? Saraswati says, because that is who he is. What do you mean that is who he is? Well, he's King Vidurat. But he's my husband. She says, yes, he's your husband. My husband is King Padma, Padmaraj. That is true. Your husband is Padmaraj. I don't understand this. This is Vidurat. So Saraswati says, I told you, you have to expand your understanding of the existence of the world that you see around you. And I've trained you in doing that. I've given you the skill sets to be able to do that. I'm not able to connect the dots, said Leela. I see things, however, I'm not understanding the relationship. So Saraswati says, well, this is a multiverse situation. Your husband is now existing as King Vidurat. Is he still my husband? If you want him to be? What do you mean? Well, it is what you are creating is your story. If you want him to be your husband, he's your husband. If you don't want him to be your husband, he's not your husband. If you feel your husband is dead, your husband is dead. If you feel that your husband is dead, but still that is your husband, that is who he is. And Saraswati says, this is too much. Sorry, Leela says, this is too much. So now the story is getting interesting. I told you. Leela is an ex-student from this university where she did her master's. So this is the story. Saraswati says, what you conceive of, how you relate to, is what is the reality of the world around you. At the same time, you are not the one that determines how the world functions. The functioning takes place on another plane. And there is a plane over a plane over a plane over a plane of existence. Or you could say, there is a bubble inside a bubble inside a bubble inside a bubble of existence. Right now, in your room where you're sitting with your dead husband's body, is the courtroom of King Vidurath. And you have developed the skill sets to see that reality. And that reality, in terms of your understanding of space and time, your understanding of how things exist in 3D, 3D, is occupying as much space as your entire kingdom here would occupy. However, because you have developed the skill sets, you are able to see all of that inside your room. And it's not a dream. This is relativity. Relativity is where you understand space-time according to different parameters. Relativity is where you understand space-time can expand or retract. It is where you challenge your intelligence to go beyond the mundane. It is where one crosses the realm, crosses over the line into what is called as brilliance. It is where one has the opportunity to discover, to invent, to be creative. Otherwise, we can just follow the laid down rules that somebody else has decided of how the world should be looked at by all of us as bonded servants, savants, laborers, and live a life like that. Leela was not ready to do that. She wanted to be exploring all of this. Please explain to me, how can one reality exist under another, inside another reality? And Saraswati said, for me, both of them are simply an existence of your idea. It is as if I am seeing what is being projected from the plane of your mind, and I'm watching that on 70mm screen or on my flat screen. I have that capacity. I can take that energy of yours and transform it into a visual form. That's a scientist. Technically, typically, in Vedic philosophy, Saraswati is the goddess of knowledge. And here one can take it take this entire story as a allegorical story. Knowledge is what helps you develop skill sets. It helps you explore certain capabilities and potentials that each one of us may have, however we are unaware of it. But knowledge is not what is taught to us, defined by other people's understanding. Knowledge is what we assimilate, and a part of that assimilation is dependent on what others give as their understanding. That is what is known as knowledge. Knowledge comes from the root word to know. I have to know. I have to know what it means to me. I don't have to know what it means to you. So if you say that this brand is good, I have to understand why this brand is good for me. Yes? So there is a Vedic aphorism, Brahma Jignasa, inquire about the truth. So coming back to our story, Leela is interested to know what is existence. How do I understand existence? Here am I, Leela, here is my dead husband, and right in my room I see that he is now King Vidurath, a young king, sitting on his throne, courtiers. I identify all of the world wherein he exists. I can see the court. The courtroom appears just like how I know the courtroom should be. The courtiers appear to be people that I know them to be. How is that? And Saraswati says, because it is your story. This is what you want to create. So is this all a dream? And Saraswati is saying, well, let me show you something more interesting. Are you ready? That is Saraswati asking her, not me asking you. Are you ready? She says, yes, I am ready. Actually, 8 days ago, your husband and you were in another existence. You were hermits, living in a hermitage. She said, what? Yes. 8 days ago. What do you mean? After that we stopped existing? She said, yes, because 8 days ago you died and before that your husband died. 8 days ago I died and my husband died. How do I even believe this? Saraswati said, because I can take you there. You can take me to where I exist as a dead person? Yeah. 8 days from now, prior to now, is when you died. So it's just been 8 days there. 8 days since your death. And according to the customs, there are certain rituals that you follow till 11 days. Your children are following those customs. She said, what? Huh? I would like to go there. So she said, hang on. It's like the Matrix movie or something like that, Hang on. And they zoom through so many planes. And she's like, what is all of this? There are so many planes of existence. She says, that's all your idea. For me, this is just space. I have not created anything here, but I can see what you are creating. The peculiar thing of knowledge is that knowledge knows everything, yet knowledge is not involved with anything. Do you know that? If knowledge could be a person, then knowledge would come and tell us, yeah, I know everything because I'm knowledge. But then do you have any emotion? He says, no, because I'm not involved. So she takes her across various planes. And they come to this hilltop. She says, this hilltop, this is just like the hill in my kingdom. She says, you are in your kingdom. You're still in your room. This is another part of your room. But in this, what you're living right, seeing right now, living through right now, here you see that entire landscape within your existence here. And she sees her children crying. She sees that they have a picture of her and her husband. What is this? She says, well, before you were Leela, this is who you were. And before your husband was Padma, this is who he was. She's like 3 births we've been together. That is what affection you have. That is the kind of affection you have. This is what you wanted. We should be eternally together. Do you think this was the only time you decided to be eternally together? Since the time you've been married, every year, that is what you decide. Every year for 8 years, 10, for 20 years that you, or no, it was almost 40 years that you lived together. You're like, please, we have to be together. We have to be. It was not the first time that you have thought of being together. So in a life of 70 years, 60, 70 years, for 40 years of your marriage, every year and every single day of that year, you are thinking about being together. Why is this idea so novel to you? This is attachment. This is what attachment does. It creates a world within your, if we can call it the head. It creates a world within your head. You're like, I think that person is thinking this about me. I think the teacher really likes me. The teacher doesn't like me. Why do you think like that? Oh, this is how, I can see all the clues. Everything is inside that. An entire world. So this is who I was? She says, yes. How do I understand that 8 days ago, I died, my husband died, and then after 8 days, my husband dies again. 8 days before, he's a hermit, and 8 days after, he's dead as a 70-year-old king, Padma. And then how do I understand that immediately after his death, within 12 hours, he's a 20-year-old king, Vidurat? Saraswati says, it's your story, it's not mine. This is how powerful the idea of existence can be. Life is very mystical because the living principle is mystical. It's not very simple that, I meditated for a few days and I feel so good. Well, if somebody puts you under some sedation for a few hours and you wake up completely refreshed, you'll feel good too. Is that meditation? It's just what happens to your body. Your body is made up of chemicals. The chemicals are properly synced or in sync. You'll feel good. If they're not in sync, you'll feel bad. Therefore, there is some idea that we can do everything, we can arrange all our feelings through having some probes inside and cause them to release chemicals. But chemicals, that is what it is. How do I understand that? And that is where Saraswati says that do you think only the 20th century or the 19th century or the 16th century people thought of relativity? People thought about how time can be compressed or expanded? Do you really think that? You really think that this has not been meditated upon since time immemorial? Since that time man became conscious, man is trying to understand the puzzle of existence. Because human intelligence demands that we understand it. Now, typically, any form of existence, whatever intelligence they have, would demand that they understand what is being alive means. However, their understanding is only through, does being alive mean having a full stomach? Does being alive mean having my taste buds satisfied? Does being alive mean having a good rest? Does therefore being alive mean having a good facility for taking rest, sleep? Does being alive means having facilities to protect myself if there's danger? or if I feel that I'm in danger, does being alive mean having relationships where I feel that we complement each other? So these expressions of the intelligence is observable in all species of life. And there's a Sanskrit aphorism for that. Ahara nidra bhay maithunam cha samanyam etat pashubhi narana. The idea of existence being important to us in terms of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending is seen in every species of life. However, in the human species, the intelligence demands why. Why is existence so dependent on eating, sleeping, mating, and defending? Why cannot existence be free from bondage, be free from limitations? Human intelligence demands that. Is there a way that I can be free from this fear of being in danger? Because that is what I want. I don't want to be fearful always. Will I die of hunger? Will I die of thirst? Will I die of lack of affection? Saraswati is pointing out something very interesting. That since the time man started exploring the idea of existence, which is since the time man's intelligence evolves, and which happens typically around one just crosses into adolescence. That is where it starts really kicking in. What is my existence about? That is where you start challenging the notion of parents and how you're dependent on parents, teachers and how you're dependent on teachers, facilities and how you're dependent on facilities. That is where you decide to, what we call in modern times, my own way. And that is where the Vedic scriptures say is the utmost need and training to dovetail this propensity towards understanding of relativity. Before we accept how the world lives, at least explore the possibility of what could be beyond the norms that they have set up. Once we accept those norms, we get conditioned. We get conditioned by what people say is good. We get conditioned by what people say is bad. We get conditioned by how, as a society, we define what is good, what is bad. How, as a society, we define dualities. So before that conditioning happens, exploration is important. Otherwise, we may not be as lucky as Leela to have the blessings of a divine personality like Saraswati, the embodiment of knowledge, whose knowledge personified, to help us develop skill sets to see how time can expand and contract, how space can expand and contract. So now Leela is faced with this reality that she is existing in three realms: past, present, future. And the future and the past that she has seen is not connected to the present as she knows her present. Because as she knows her present, the past that she has seen and the future that she has seen is totally discontinuous. Her present is that she is a queen. Her husband is King Padmaraj. Sorry, Padmaraj, not King Padmaraj. King Padma. And her past has no continuity with this, because her past is 8 days ago she died. Both of them were hermits. And 12 hours after her husband's death, she sees her husband as a king, 20 years old. She's like, oh, here I can see that I died. Here I see that I'm with my dead husband, but in the future that I saw, where am I? Saraswati says, let us go back. Say, go back. And she sees another Leela. And now she is really psyched out. Because in the past, both of us are dead. In the present, my husband is dead. I am alive. In the future, both of us are alive. So I'm alive now and I'm alive in the future also. Now this is beyond her. Who am I? And Saraswati says, from my viewpoint, you are none of these. But from your viewpoint, you're confused. Am I this who am I in the present? Or am I that in the future? So then Padma says, Leela says, please let me have that kind of vision. I would want to have that vision. And Saraswati said, are you ready for it? Because when you have that vision, everything you know about time and space dissolves. She says, oh, I'm fearful. Well, that is what is eternity. Eternity is where all that you know about time and space within the parameters of its limitations, it dissolves. And the existence there is not dependent on your parameters. The existence there is dependent on the parameters of being eternal. Are you ready for that? She says, yes, I am ready. Saraswati says, all right. I have a request, says Leela. Do you think my husband can also qualify for this course? And Saraswati is like, why not? Definitely. However, once you are established in that reality, you'll realize that there's no husband and there's no wife. There's just eternity. Are you ready for that? She says, yes. Because it is too troublesome to go through this grueling existence again. I've lived through it. It is worthwhile. However, the pain that comes with just the idea of it ending, or the experience that we go through certain ends, certain relationships that end, is too painful. And all that I experience through life may not exactly be worthwhile enough to go through that pain. The pain is not about losing someone. The pain is about my attachments proving to be so limited. My attachments proving to be so very helpless. I have an attachment to someone and someone does not stay. Time just grabs that person and takes that person away. My attachment is left dangling. There's nothing at the other end. That feels bad. So she says, I don't want that kind of feeling, that pain. So although life as being Leela, life as being the hermit could have been good, Leela was definitely good, the pain at the end and the experience of that does not make it worth living such a life again. Now that I understand, it does not make it worthwhile. So please teach me how to have that vision. So Saraswati says, all right, we'll begin our classes every Sunday, 5 o'clock at the Iskcon Center, Baltimore. We'll teach you the process. But the process is as good as how you understand it to be. Because at the end of it, it is your story. Understand the point? It is your story. And that is the world that you create. That is the world that you live in. Now to make it a little more, I wouldn't say simpler, because I understand that all of you are capable enough of understanding, at least relating to what I said. But let us just say that a simpler understanding is when you are very anxious about a particular event in your life, you see that time passes very quickly. Or if that anxiety is where you are at the receiving end of that event, you feel that time is prolonged. And because you feel it, that is the universe for you. However, the universe is not under your control. The universe will, under certain other parameters, function in its own way. However, for you, that is your universe. It would be very helpful to be able to have the remote in your hands rather than be like a remote object in someone else's hands. Right? A puppet in someone else's hands. And what is that? Your own ideas of what existence are. Because that is what ideas do to you, conceptions do to you. In Sanskrit, it is called as vichara dharana, vichara paddhati. And is connected to what is known as chitta. So chitta avarodhan is very much recommended. What is chitta avarodhan? Regulate the flow of your conscious understanding every moment of your interaction with the world around you. Regulate that. Streamline it. It is called as chitta avarodhan. Avarodhan means stop, but here it means regulate. Regulate means give it a proper direction, the flow. So Krishna consciousness is all about conscious, being conscious. Once somebody asked Srila Prabhupada, what does Krishna consciousness mean? He said being conscious of Krishna. Like, it's so simple. And Prabhupada said, yes, it's very simple. All you have to do is read the philosophy, chant, dance, eat prasad. That's it. So people are like, yeah, I tick 3 boxes. Reading the philosophy, can we do it another way? Can somebody else read it for me and tell me? Give me the highlights. But then you will be, if you do that, you will be accepting their ideas. So understand their ideas and formulate your own ideas. And for that, we need training, we need reading, we need comprehension, we need the skill sets to be able to relate. In the Bhagavad Gita, there are this series of 4 verses. This is the 4th chapter. If you want to pull it up, so that it doesn't sound that I am the mystical person here, I'm so knowledgeable. You can pull it up and go through it. See that it would be helpful to confirm that I'm not trying to mislead you. I'm just repeating as it is.
You can type database in the Google. Could you type database?
Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4. You can type BG 4.16. Yes, we are there? Good. 4th chapter, 16th verse. So the verse is Kim karma kima karmeti kavayo pyatra mohita tatte karma pravakshami yajñatva mokshase shubhat. Translation: even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortune. Here Krishna is referring to those who are well read. And he says, even the kavi means not just a graduate, but someone who has done their thesis. in this particular realm. Even for them, it's difficult to understand what is karma, what is akarma. Action and inaction. Where are you supposed to be involved and where are you supposed to say, hey, not for me. Even for the most intelligent, it is difficult to determine that. And how is that? So in the next verse, 17, if you go to the next verse. Karmano hyapi bodhavyam cha vikarmanah akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gati. Translation. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. These are the tools that every wise person needs. Because then we can function optimally. According to the law of transformation of energy, the loss is very minimal. Every action, there's some transformation of energy, right? So it would be helpful to conserve wherever it is needed and to use it with minimal loss in transformation. That is what is being spoken here. Then text 18, as I said, 4 verses, right? So this is the 3rd verse. Karmanya karma yah pashed akarmani cha karmayah sa buddhiman manusheshu sa yukta kritsna karma krit. Translation. I find it a little humorous what he's saying. One who sees inaction in action, nice. Sees inaction in action, okay? And action in an action. It's like one who sees satisfaction in thirst and thirst in satisfaction. Something like that. Is intelligent among men and he or she is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. There are stories of, these, whether they are Greek mythologies or let us say the Vedic histories. There are stories of people who are unaffected by that which could be harmful for most of us. Like somebody who's unaffected by very, very potent poison, an ordinary human being. How is that possible? Therefore, we consider them to be stories. However, for an inquisitive mind, that becomes, it gives you the scope for research. That is why there's so much research going on how to attain the state of deathlessness in the realm of science. Because they've heard stories, so an idea creeps into our head. Is that a possibility? So we understand what poison is. We understand what poison does to our body. We understand how it breaks down the structure of the body, the molecular structure of this organic body. And then we try to see how to stop that pathway. Now it becomes very, very easy, provided we know how to stop the pathway. But at least we know what should be done. So, one who knows action in inaction and inaction in action, that person has it going good. And the last verse, the 4th verse, that is text 19. Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjita jnanagni dagdha karmanam tamahu panditam buddha. Panditam buddha. One is understood to be in full knowledge whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He or she is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. So basically here it means that when you perform an action and there's transformation of energy, there is no loss. You get the full benefit of that energy, of that transformation. When potential energy gets transformed into kinetic energy, the product that kinetic energy brings to you is 100% delivered to you. And when you have 100% delivered to you, since there is no loss, there is no hankering anymore. You don't feel unhappy. You're like, yeah, this is what I put in and I got what it was supposed to give me. So for such a person, the reactions of work, what are the reactions of work? So many emotions that we have. Those reactions of work get burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. One of the reasons why we are trying to come here is because we want to have a good time. Now, if somebody like me keeps on pestering you, then somewhere down the line you're going to wonder, is it worth it? Therefore, I have to stop before that happens, right? We would want to have a situation where the reactions are 100% as we desire it to be. That means perfect work. And that perfect work or perfect action, a clue is being given here. There's an idea that is being given here. This was spoken about 5,000 years ago. 5,000 years ago, people were thinking about it. There was some part of the population that was thinking about it. So all we need to see is, can we pursue this experiment in our lives? I'll conclude by telling you a grandma's story. Very, you can relax now. Let your intelligence do shavasana. Relax time. Okay? So this story is from a scripture known as Chaitanya Charitamrita, a holy book. It is very popular in India, especially East India. And in Iskcon, in our institution, is very popular because our founder Acharya, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, he has translated it from the regional language into the English language. So it's available for us to read. And there are many other languages that it has been translated into. So in that book, there is the story of Lord Krishna. Krishna lives in Dwarka. So the engineer of this world, the CEO of this world, Brahma, his name is Brahma, according to Vedic understanding. So the CEO decides to have a one-on-one conversation with the owner of this company. The owner of this company is, the owner of this universe is Krishna. So he comes to Krishna's palace in Dwarka. So the doorkeepers there, they ask him, sir, what is your purpose? He says, I would like to meet Krishna. Please, sir, definitely. I'll send in a word. So the doorkeeper goes to Krishna and he tells Krishna, he asks him, so what should I say? Who has come to see him? Tell him Brahma has come to see him. So he goes inside and tells Krishna, Krishna, Brahma has come to see you, so should I send him in? Krishna says, which Brahma? So she's like, let me find out. So the doorkeeper comes back to Brahma and he says, oh, Krishna is asking which Brahma? Oh, tell him the father of Sanak, the four-headed Brahma is here. So Brahmaji sends in his resume. So he goes back to Krishna. Krishna says, yes, please let him in. Four-headed Brahma, yes. So Krishna welcomes him very nicely. He says, what can I do for you? So Brahmaji says, the problem that I came with, before I asked that, I'm very curious to know, why did you ask which Brahma? Are there more Brahmas are there other Brahmas than me? Like he's concerned, are there any other CEOs? A company should just have one CEO, right? So Krishna says, yes. And Brahmaji is like, oh my God. And Krishna says, because there are many, many universes just like yours. I have multiple outlets. You are the CEO of one outlet. So Brahmaji is kind of disbelieving it, because like, how can there be any other universe, Because where I live is all that should exist. Somehow we feel like that. I mean, we are ready to accept that there is a possibility, but still there's, whenever this idea that the way I understand, it is also very important for people to live, when that becomes very predominant in our lives. And that could become very predominant where the quality of humility decides to leave us, is on vacation. So that is where this idea becomes very predominant in our lives, that everyone should understand how I feel. Like everyone should be my personal counselor or something like that. So a therapist, my personal therapist, they should understand my feeling. That happens when we become too egotistic, too self-centered. Something that afflicts us on and off. So Brahmaji was concerned. Krishna could understand that there is this peculiar feature in him, and he wanted him to be free from that. He was concerned that this should not trouble Brahma so much. Therefore, I would arrange for some cure. So he said, should I call all the Brahmas? Would you like to meet them? And Brahmaji said, yes, why not? So Krishna just snaps his finger. So many Brahmas come. There are Brahmas that come, they have 8 heads. There are Brahmas that have 16 heads. There are Brahmas that have 32 heads. There are Brahmas that have 100 heads. There are Brahmas that have like a zillion heads. And each of their heads is decorated with a crown because they are the CEO. And all of them come, and all of them are within that room of Krishna, where Brahma is there, the 4-headed Brahma, and it is not overcrowded at all. No one is hitting their head against the ceiling, and no one has to compress their size. They're all existing there. And they fold their hands and ask Krishna, you summoned us? Is there any service we can do? He says, well, I just wanted to know if everything was going well in your universes. In your universe, he said. So they said, my dear Lord, by your mercy, everything is going well. So please accept our obeisance. And they bow down to Krishna, with all their crown. And there's a tumultuous sound because their crowns are crashing. And Brahmaji can hear. So the 4-headed Brahma is like, I believe. That is within his head. But the sound is only heard by the 4-headed Brahma, no one else. None of the other Brahmas are shocked. Where is the noise coming from? So Krishna says, yeah, now you can leave. And they all leave. And there is only the 4-headed Brahma with Krishna. And the 4-headed Brahma says, my dear Lord, were they aware that I was here? Because they did not even, no passing smile, no recognition. And Krishna said, no, they were unaware. They were all in there. Every single Brahma was in his own bubble. I could see all of them. Krishna said, because I allowed you to see. They could not see each other. They all thought that they were having a personal audience with me. Now this inspires that little thing in our heads called as intelligence. Is there a possibility of someone being so powerful? And thus begins the search of the seeker. Is there a possibility? And it would be so nice to connect with such a person. So when Prabhupada said, somebody asked Prabhupada, what is Krishna consciousness? Prabhupada said, being conscious of Krishna. So seeker in Krishna consciousness is somebody that wants to connect with this Krishna. how does he manage to have so many Brahmas in their own bubbles, all present there, unaware of each other? And he's like, yeah, I just wanted to know if everything is well with you. Bye. Now, from a very, ordinary, point of view, experience. And if you could have Saraswati here, then she would say, yeah, it's possible. Saraswati would definitely say it's possible. You gain the knowledge. Knowledge will tell you about the skill sets. You work for having those skill sets developed in you. And with those skill sets, you would also. And we are like, why not? I've tried so many things. Why not try this too? So that is what we'd encourage all of you to do. The topic, I think, was winning the game of life. So we discussed about life, rather than me saying that, hey, you play the roulette well. Rather than do that, what I would suggest is, if you're inspired, dive into this prospect. Explore this possibility. A powerful person and we learning the technique to expand and contract time according to how we feel it could be favorable for us. Expand and contract space according to how we find it favorable for ourselves. And hopefully, for at least another person, we make that facility available. We don't want people to be dependent on us. We would want each person to have that healthy self-pride that they did it, and not that we are their godfathers or godmothers doing it for them. So this is called as, in our lineage, the lineage that I come in, the Gaudiya Vaishnava lineage, the Parampara, there's a quote which defines this particular approach in life. It is called as Janma Sarthak Kari Karo Paropakar. Fulfill your own destiny and serve others. Facilitate so that they can also fulfill their destiny. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So any questions, clarifications? Yes.
Like in one time, one soul can be present in one body, in different bodies. Like one soul can be in one body, right? Like for example, I'm not in any other realm. Like I'm only in this realm and only in this body.
Okay.
Like I'm asking you, like is that or like,
Okay, let me try and answer this by stating a few life experiences that typically a grown-up has been through. Is that all right? Some life experiences. First is, all of us have a family, a biological family. And if they are not with us physically present, other than their faith, how do they know that we are in a particular body? So our existence, that a soul can be only a particular body, is only limited to us. Our immediate biological family, if they are separated from us by time or space, like if our biological family is at home right now, our existence is almost, it's only in their memory.
oh, I got it.
So how do we define the understanding from a, let us say, a perfect perspective that does not have any loopholes? How we define what is our understanding of a soul being in only one body? So it's our conception, first of all. Okay? Secondly, second life experiences. If we are in deep sleep, are we aware that we are in a body?
No, sometimes we dream and see in another thing.
And sometimes a dream could be that we are in another body. True? Sometimes it could be that we are in the same body, but we are somewhere else. Like we are at a school, or we are in a park. We are dreaming about it. When we wake up, we are like, oh, it was a dream. So what is it? Because in the dream, me being in my body was when I was in a park. In the dream, me being in my body was when I was at school. But someone can say, no, I can see you. And you were dreaming, and you wake up and say, yeah, I was dreaming. Well, for that, we gave the first example. If they are separated by time and space, if they are not around us, can they see us? Now, in the second example, there is, let us say, a friend or a family with us who are seeing us asleep. So they can see us that we are in that body. Whereas we in the dream are seeing ourselves in another body. So now you see how at one given moment, from someone else's perspective, we are in a particular body. We are in the body that is sleeping in this particular room, on a particular bed. And from our perspective, we are flying in a plane. Because that is a dream state that we are in. So this is what Sankhya does. Sankhya is a particular section of the Vedic texts. Sankhya is very analytical, very, very analytical. It wants to make everything threadbare. It's like, what about this? Is this it? No, not this. Is this it? Not this. So Sankhya is that which helps you analyze things to its bones. All right? So what we are discussing is Sankhya right now. It does not negate the idea of understanding that the soul has a body. All right? Now, the story that we narrated, it was a very special experience that Leela had. She could see a future that was disconnected from her present, which ordinarily no one has. And that is only possible by the special blessings of a different department of knowledge. It is possible because it has been explained in the scriptures that one can do that. One can be what is called as trikalagya. One is aware of past, present and future. Because those ideas are already formatted. You know, when you're thinking that after 1 year, this is how I'm going to celebrate my graduation. Or at convocation, I've made everything ready for how I'm going to look at the convocation ceremony. So the future we have already planned. So as a Trikalagya, we could, if we have the facility, if we learn that art, we could see that existing right now. We could see the experience right now. So that is a very, very special, very, very interesting department of knowledge. It requires training. What would help us right now is that, we just accept that we are an embodied soul. It's easy. It helps us start somewhere. It's like saying that A, B, C, D, or let us say A, N, D is and, we are in those formative years where we are not challenged by the concept of A plus B, the whole square is A square plus 2AB plus B square. You're like, what is that? Oh, you develop, be patient, learn, understand abstract theorems, understand how they exist, and If you understand that, if you are able to visualize that understanding, then you'll have abstract things giving you results. Is that all right? You're welcome. Any other question or any thoughts? 6:30.
Very good explanation on time, space. So my question is, why are we not born with the knowledge? Why
Everyone.
does God wants us to seek it?
Very good question. Why are we not born with knowledge, and why does God want us to seek it? Every year, okay, let me give this example. Every year the university gives a facility of people receiving their degrees, isn't it? Unless until we seek for it, will we get the degrees? Or is the university only doing it for us? That, oh, for you, we are going to make you seek it and take the degree. No, they have the setup. Those who want to qualify for it, those who want to aspire for it, they can seek it. Okay? So the opportunity to be in knowledge has been afforded to every entity. However, knowledge is that which is understood. Knowledge is that which is understood. So if we have understanding, then we'll be in knowledge. Now, if you are born a prodigy, if that is how, someone is, you'll see that at a very young age, they're knowledgeable. In whatever field they are a prodigy, a child prodigy, isn't it? If we were knowledgeable right from the time of conception, then the whole process of how development works doesn't make sense. If a house is supposed to give shelter right from when the foundation is built, then having the pillars and the roof and that entire process doesn't make sense. So the idea of shelter that is there is because we feel we are shelterless. If I feel that I'm not shelterless, do you think I'm going to develop or get into the conception of building in the foundation, getting the pillars there, having a roof? No. I won't. I'm like, I have the sky as the roof. I have the earth as my bed. All right? So that is one aspect. The second aspect is birth is a necessary experience for somebody who knowingly or unknowingly wants to experience ignorance. It's a choice that we make. Hey, what is ignorance? Take birth. And then we'll understand what is ignorance, because we have to remove ignorance by developing the skill sets to be in knowledge. So life doesn't begin at birth, because that doesn't make sense. How? I was existing yesterday and day before. At least I believe, right? You also believe that you were existing yesterday and day before?
Yes.
And when does the world say that you were born? 1999, someday, okay? X day, Y month, 1999, right? However, you're existing 9 months prior to that or 10 months prior to that too. That is what the doctors will say. But that is not what the world says. The world says the day you appear from the womb, that is the day we celebrate your birthday. Right? So we did exist before that. Now, are we arbitrarily going to cut off existence there and say that that is when life began? Doesn't seem logical. So we should explore the possibility of if life was present prior to conception, then what could it be? Now, if we accept that, what is called as a theory of reincarnation or punarjanma, If we accept that, then we can try to explore the answers of how we made the choice of wanting to experience ignorance. So if there is existence, our existence before conception, then that is where we must have made the choice to experience ignorance, which also kind of gives us pointers to that at the end of this life, if we have still not given up, or if we have still not consciously understood that we have to come out of ignorance, then we may have to go through another birth to experience what is ignorance.
So, does it take a lot of births to get that knowledge, or we can get it in one birth?
It takes you to decide when you want to be out of ignorance. It takes one to decide that. If I decide right now I want to be out of ignorance and do all that I need to never ever experience ignorance again, then somebody says, hey, you qualify for this option, not taking birth. And you're like, yeah, I would like to take admission there. So it's our choice. Ichha. Free will. So you want to enroll? Think about it. Yes.
Sorry. There's something almost of the time, like we know that if we do Manasi Seva, like we mentally do a circumambulance of Vrinda Devi or any Seva to Krishna. That also counts. Like Krishna also counts this as a Seva. Does that related to this concept when I'm meditating that I'm worshipping Krishna like in this way? So I'm actually doing this in being that plane in that moment, in that time, space and circumstance. I'm actually doing that. Is that?
Yes. It is possible, provided the form that you see as Tulsi Devi is actually Tulsi Devi and not what you think is Tulsi Devi. And the pradakshina that you're doing is actually pradakshina and not what you think is pradakshina. Let me give an example to explain this. If there's a convocation ceremony, and let's say my brother or sister is going to receive their degree there, right? So somebody is sitting right behind me and they're like, hey, are you also going to receive a degree? And I'm like, no, I'm here for my brother. Oh, I'm so sorry, I thought because you're here, maybe you'd also receive the degree. So just because I'm present there, the idea could be that, oh, I'm also there for the convocation ceremony. So just because I think this is Tulsi Maharani, I think this is Pradakshina, it could, it may not. You have to be self-aware. So again, coming back to what Prabhupada said, what is Krishna consciousness? Being conscious of Krishna. So what is Manas Seva? Being conscious of Manas Seva. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Rohinipriya Prabhuji ki.